Charlotte is niche, but she's pretty good. To quickly summarize Charlotte's kit, she revolves around applying AoE cryo from off-field and providing healing which scales based off of her attack. Her stats and the scalings for her damage are extremely low, and she doesn't have any direct buffing in her kit. Instead, the vast majority of her power went towards her healing, which she provides with her burst. At talent level 13, her burst will heal the entire party by 545.22% of her attack, plus an additional 4,423.73. To put into perspective how high that is, let's say your Charlotte has 1800 attack and 46% healing bonus. Her burst would heal the entire team by nearly 21,000. Then, if you have her C1 will heal the entire party by about 2100 3 times over the next 6 seconds, resulting in her healing the entire party by a total of 27,000. This makes Charlotte excellent at fully healing the entire team. Even characters with high HP like Furina and Neuvillette will easily get fully healed by Furina. One glaring flaw that Charlotte has with her healing is that it all comes from her burst, and her burst costs 80 energy. This gives her massive energy requirements without using an energy recharge weapon, since her burst is where all of her value comes from, so this restricts the amount of teams she can be used in. But speaking of her teams, let's take a look at what teams she should be used in. As mentioned, most of Charlotte's value comes in the fact that she has excellent healing and some off-field AoE cryo application. So we want to use her in teams that will value this. The only way a team will truly value the sheer amount of healing that Charlotte provides is if the team is using Furina. So all of the teams I provide here will be using Furina. On top of Furina's skill and burst making her team's value strong healers like Charlotte, pairing Furina and Charlotte together creates Freeze, granting use out of Charlotte's cryo application as well. So the first team that I'm going to recommend is Charlotte in a Neuvillette team of Neuvillette, Furina, Charlotte, Kazuha. As mentioned, because Charlotte's healing is so high, she will easily fully heal even high HP characters like Neuvillette and Furina. The freeze that you will be getting from our cryo application can also be very nice, as it will help prevent Neuvillette from getting interrupted, and can help keep enemies close enough to be hit at the same time by Neuvillette's charged attack. Charlotte's energy issues also don't really come up in this team, because you can easily use a weapon like Favonius, Prototype, or Sacrificial Fragments here to assist with her energy. The next team I will recommend is using either Ayaka or Ganyu as the main DPS, alongside Furina, Charlotte, and Kazuha or Venti. Ayaka and Ganyu are both DPS that get great value out of Freeze, and Charlotte, alongside a second cryo unit, lowers her energy requirements enough for her to use Thrilling Tales for some good buffing. For Ayaka, this team is really nice because Charlotte is providing the same buffs that Kokomi normally would here, which is Thrilling Tales and Tenacity. But Charlotte's massive team-wide healing is also letting Ayaka use Furina, and Furina is an excellent addition for Ayaka, not only for her buffing, but because Furina will be doing damage across Ayaka's entire rotation. This mitigates the issue Ayaka usually has, which is damage distribution. That being where after you use Ayaka's burst, the team essentially has no damage happening at all. Furina fixes that since her skill is doing damage across the entire rotation. Theoretically, this team seems like it should be an upgrade to Ayaka's current teams by up to like 10%, but even if the actual DPS increase is smaller than that, the improvement to the way the damage is distributed is still very nice. And with Ganyu, Charlotte allowing Ganyu to use Furina is very nice. Furina provides on average a similar sized buff to what Mono would provide here when you have as much healing as Charlotte does. Except here with Furina is also dealing excellent damage of her own as well. And Charlotte will also buff with both Thrilling Tales and Tenacity. This is essentially a modernized variant of the Morgana team, using an Anemo unit alongside Freeze to group enemies, and have them all taking quadratic scaling damage from Ganyu's burst. The grouping here also ensures that all enemies get hit by Ganyu's charged attack, and Furina's AoE hits as well. Overall, this should be a really strong AoE team, but keep in mind it will fall off pretty hard in single target since it's relying on quadratic scaling from Ganyu. And then one last team I'd recommend Charlotte in is going to be a Wanderer team of Wanderer, Farazan, Furina, Charlotte. Wanderer can directly benefit from Charlotte's Cryo application because of his Ascension 1 passive, which will buff his crit rate by 20% if his skill comes into contact with Cryo on cast. The freeze that you will get from Charlotte and Furina will also make playing Wanderer without a shield much easier. And Charlotte can buff Wanderer with Thrilling Tales, but keep in mind you will need very high energy recharge on her for this. You will need her to be C4 for the 10 energy refunds she will get, and you will likely also need both Farazan and Furina on Favonius weapons, and also funnel the Favonius particles from one of them to Charlotte. But this honestly isn't too big of an issue, since Favonius weapons are very good on Furina and Farazan anyway, and with the way you rotate the team, Charlotte was likely going to be catching Farazan's Favonius particles anyway as well. But since Charlotte does lose all her value if you fail to get her burst up, you may want to consider using her on Favonius instead. The damage will be lower without that buffing from Thrilling Tales, but you can somewhat make up for it by being able to use a better weapon than Favonius on Furina instead. Now those are the main teams I would recommend Charlotte in, so now let's quickly go over how to gear her. For her artifacts, if no one else in the team is using Tenacity of the Millilith, Charlotte can use it. If someone else is already using it, for example Farazan in the Wanderer team, then she should use Noblesse instead. In teams that don't care about attack buffs, such as the Neuvillette team, then you can use her on 4-piece Maidens to maximize her healing, or Ocean Hued Clam, although she really only gets like 2 clam procs, so it's not going to be doing that much. For the main stats, you'll pretty much always be using an Energy Recharge Sands, an Attack Goblet, and Healing Bonus Circlet. However, if you're using Favonius Codex, you'll probably want to use a Crit Rate Circlet for the higher chance of triggering the Favonius passive. And for her substats, just get as much Energy Recharge and Attack percent as you can, and also get Crit Rate if using Favonius. For weapons, in teams with attack scalers, you want to use Thrilling Tales. If you're having energy issues with Thrilling Tales, then you can use an energy recharge weapon instead, like Favonius, Oathsworn Eye, Sacrificial Fragments, or Prototype Amber. Ideally Favonius, since the particles from it will support the team. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say regarding Charlotte. Overall, she's a pretty niche character, really only providing value to a few Furina teams. However, the teams that she provides value to are really strong teams, and she does provide good value there, so that's perfectly fine. I think she's a pretty good character overall. And if you liked today's video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and also comment down below letting me know your thoughts. Thanks, bye.